audiobook, Yama Niyama, Yogic Ethics for a Balanced Mind, Chapter 1, Introduction. To understand an idea, it is always necessary to grasp not only its appearance, but also its inner spirit. Upon this, a proper conceptualization of the given topic can be gained, and for this one must know the context in which it sits. To realize the purpose and meaning of the guidelines of behavior, which Yama Niyama are, the same must be applied. In fact, one of the points of the Niyamas, Swadhyaya, suggests exactly this, that one must read with proper perception not only what is literally being said, but what is implied of the essence of the words. This small book is an attempt to explain the teachings of Yama Niyama in such a way, prompting a process of self-reflection which can serve towards the deepening of our ethical, emotional, and spiritual lives, both individually and collectively. Yama Niyama are basically a set of 10 ethical guidelines divided equally into two parts, the Yamas and the Niyamas. The 5 points of the Yamas are designed to establish a balanced relationship between the inner and outer worlds, the subjective and objective, and are distinguished from the Niyamas and that they cannot be implemented without an external object to be acted upon. The Niyamas are internal attitudes which can be cultivated without the need of a second entity. Originating in the Indian subcontinent, the Yamas and Niyamas are well known for being included in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, but like many other ideas in that whole book, by no means originated there. Similar and also other somewhat different versions can be found recorded and interpreted in numerous ancient texts, and were surely taught orally, as was the system of basically all Indian spiritual traditions before and also after having been written down. The explanations given in this book are based upon the teachings of Shrii Shrii Anandamurti, the 20th century founder of the socio-spiritual organization Ananda Marga. His original thoughts can be found in the book titled A Guide to Human Conduct. Anandamurti states in the very first lines of his book that morality is not in itself the final goal of life, and that Yama Niyama are principles designed with an objective beyond themselves, based upon another more deeply underlying recognition of the purpose and value of human life. They are not based upon fear, desire for personal gain in the present or future, or the self-assurance of righteousness. They are, in essence, a recognition of the special human capacity of self-reflection and the desire to convert separation into unity, or the impermanence of individuality into the infinite and transcendent. This is the base of the Tantra Yoga propounded by Anandamurti, that there is a universal consciousness reflected within each human being, indeed within the whole creation, and it is the process of experiencing in ever deeper levels this consciousness that gives peace and happiness in life. Parallel to this, we are transformed into better people through the amplification of our empathy and the sense of social responsibility that arises through the experience and not only theory of interconnectedness. Yama Niyama are the base upon which this development can occur. They are, in a sense, an ethical formulation informed by our sense of spiritual potential, a practical reply to the recognition that the impulse to bridge the separation between the small self and the spirit has tremendous consequences throughout all the levels and quadrants of human existence. It is as central to any description of humanity as gravity is to a description of the physical universe. In order to bridge this separation, or even to develop a clear awareness of this impulse living inside of us and how it affects our lives, more often than not unconsciously, a certain calmness of mind is needed. The principles of Yama Niyama are a codified explanation of observations as to how the mind works and the attitudes and conduct which will provide the individual with the mental balance needed in order to realize the inspiration of the infinite within their self and in daily life. For this reason they are considered as the foundation of any meditation practice, without which attempts at concentration will be akin to lighting a fire with wet wood, a lot of smoke, little warmth, and increasing frustration. This idea will become clearer as we proceed throughout the book. Alongside the recognition of the human search for the transcendent, Yama Niyama incorporates equally a dose of relativism, never forgetting that each and every situation in life is unique. One must apply discernment in every case, not less so, but perhaps even more so than if one were to live without any particular code of ethics. Yama Niyama do not provide the specifics of how one must respond to any given situation. Rather, the onus is on the individual to reflect, take responsibility, and then decide the best approach to take. What Yama Niyama do is create the perspective, sensibility, and psychic design through which one is able to make decisions fully aware of one's conscious and subconscious intentions. This act of taking responsibility for one's subconscious is part of what makes Yama Niyama work, as you will see when you read, for example, the section on Satya, which explains the interactions between the conscious and subconscious mind, and how these interactions properly guided create willpower and courage. This psychic strength is in turn the source of mental and emotional balance. Before going on, it is worthwhile becoming familiar with two essential principles of the Tantra Yoga philosophy of Anandamurti, which are important in and of themselves, and also because they are distinct as compared to certain other yogic schools of thought. First, this world is not an illusion. Unlike Shankaracharya, who claimed Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, this world is an illusion and only Brahma, or infinite consciousness, is truth. And equally unlike Charvak philosophy, which claims that only the material is truth and the abstract does not exist, Anandamurti propounded Brahma Satyam Jagadapi Satyam Apekshikam. Brahma is the absolute truth. This universe is also truth, but a relative one. Divinity is to be discovered through and within this world and not only beyond it. What is required is not to deny the world, but to transform one's experience of it. The existence of the universe is not an illusion, and nor is it to be viewed negatively, as a distraction to be rejected as far as possible. To negate the value of this created world is in itself a rejection of the need for any kind of moral conduct, just as much as hedonism, for example, has no need of ethics. It is also an act of hypocrisy and callousness, with the potential of producing a very convoluted interpretation of spirituality, the contradictions of which should be self-apparent. Yama Niyama, in the very fact of its existence, proclaims loud and clear, this world is real. It is ever-changing, but it does exist. The infinite is there hidden in the essence of all the colorful expressions of life, if you just know where and how to look. The second notable portion of Anandamurti's philosophy, which also relates directly to Yama Niyama, is the concept of friction as a positive and essential force of growth. Obstacles, he explains, are helping forces to reach the goal, and peace is found in ever-increasing degrees through internal and external effort and struggle. Peace of mind within this scheme of things is not an anesthetized state of calm in which one avoids the processing of difficult and transformative life experiences, nor an escape from the responsibilities of daily life. Rather, one is even encouraged to make special effort to place oneself in challenging situations in order to confront one's fears, contradictions, and mental complexes. In this context, what is the meaning of mental equilibrium? It is a state in which one has the strength and composure of mind to maintain a balanced and unbiased perception, even when surrounded by disturbing forces. This capacity derived from one's integrity of intent, which in turn derives from the awareness of one's unconscious thought patterns, and of consciously working to integrate into these patterns a sense of universalism, of interconnectedness, and thus of empathy with the entire created world. The effort of self-reflection and actualization of its results, which Yama Niyama demands, produces a kind of mental friction, which, as a flour mill grinds wheat into flour, refines the perceptions and emotional state of a person. Each time this effort is made, the mind gains in strength and thus equilibrium, and what begins as a conscious effort is gradually integrated into the subconscious mind to become a natural state of being. It cannot be said that the ultimate aim of life is not to commit theft. What is desirable is that the tendency to commit theft should be eliminated. Not to indulge in falsehood is not the aim of life. What is important is that the tendency of telling lies should be dispelled from one's mind. The sadhaka, or spiritual practitioner, starts spiritual practices with the principles of morality, of not indulging in theft or falsehood. The aim of such morality is such a state of oneness with Brahma, or infinite consciousness, where no desire is left for theft, and all tendencies of falsehood disappear. In this sense, Yama Niyama also serve as a link between the relative and absolute, as a tangential point upon which fact, information derived from the objective world, and meaning have the chance to cordially meet. A comprehensive account of ethics requires accepting that they are both constructed by humanity and prior to humanity. They have both relative and absolute origins. On the relative side, ethics are socially constructed to help us survive in a contrary universe. They assist the viability of autonomous systems. On the absolute side, ethics are informed by our sense of spiritual potential, which first manifests in the archetypal mind. It is a level of mind where archetypes such as virtue, beauty, truth, justice, and love first differentiate from spirit, and thereby give multiple kinds of meaning to our lives. Human beings have a tendency to search for absolutes, in beliefs grounded as ultimate truths, in perfect systems, or equally so in materialistic reductionism. The problem with this arises not because the desire of the possibility of transcendence is faulty, but because we look in the wrong places and try to convert relativity into this absolute, be it as absolute peace, certainty, etc., that we so desire. This is paradoxical, as by doing so, our mental processes and worldview are crystallized into dogmas, and human creativity is stifled as our unconscious or misunderstood thirst for infinite is converted into its opposite. Literature offers no shortage of dystopian novels which vividly demonstrate this point. That human happiness is not to be found in an externally imposed stability and certainty, nor in having our moral and emotional dilemmas solved effortlessly by artificial means, nor even by the simplification of life through the continuous provision of indulgent pleasures. Inspiration in lives comes from the dynamism produced from the friction of opposing forces, and the growth and conversion of the unknown into the known that this produces. That we can learn to appreciate this point and enjoy the process involved in it is made possible through a feeling of love for something greater than oneself, being realized within oneself through the process of growth. The biologist Umberto Maturana, describing how interactions of love affect the evolution of humanity, defines love as the domain of those relational behaviors through which the other arises as a legitimate other in coexistence with oneself, and explains that it is love, by creating a space of cooperation, trust, and undistorted relationships, that opens the possibility of the liberation of intelligence. Love is visionary, not blind, because it liberates intelligence and expands coexistence and cooperation as it expands the domain in which our nervous system operates. Love expands the domain in which our nervous system abstracts coherences from our living. Love may have many contextual expressions, but its essence is the same, and spiritual love is the spontaneous expression of expansion of love, in which there is an opening to the total acceptance of the cosmos in unity with oneself. What does Yama Niyama do for us finally? It creates the balanced state of mind, possible because of the strength gained from clarity of intent, which permits us to have empathy beyond ourselves, towards those known or unknown to us, loving them as expressions of that which is universal within all of us. Thus, every aspect of creation is legitimate and does not need to justify its existential value, but does need to be treated according to our best judgment in the given context. Yama Niyama is a base upon which we become able to expand our love from individual to infinite, through meditation as a spiritual practice and in all endeavors of daily life. This, in my humble understanding and experience, is the motivation behind their design.